The morning sun painted the sky orange and pink over the wide valley. Anna stood on the wooden porch of her small ranch house, holding a yellowed piece of paper in her hands. It was the deed to her land. Her husband had left it to her when he died last winter. This ranch was all she had left in the world. The 100 acres of grassland, the old barn, and the small herd of cattle were her only hope for survival. She heard horses coming down the dirt road. 3 riders appeared through the morning mist. Anna recognized the man in front right away. It was Mr. Blackwood, the town banker. He sat tall on his black horse, wearing his expensive suit and gold watch chain. Behind him rode Sheriff Hayes and one of Blackwood's hired men. Anna's heart began to pound. She knew this visit meant trouble. Mr. Blackwood stopped his horse in front of the porch. He smiled, but his eyes were cold as winter ice. He pulled out a paper from his coat pocket. "Your husband owed me money, Mrs. Anna. A lot of money. He signed this note before he died. It says if he couldn't pay, the ranch becomes mine. Well, the payment is long overdue. This land belongs to me now." Anna felt the world spin around her. She had never heard about any debt. Her husband had never mentioned owing money to the banker. That can't be true. My husband would have told me. He left this ranch to me. I have the deed right here. The banker laughed. "A deed means nothing when there's debt to be paid. Sheriff, tell her the law." Sheriff Hayes looked uncomfortable. He didn't meet Anna's eyes when he spoke. "I'm sorry, Anna. The law is clear. A debt must be paid. Mr. Blackwood has the legal right to take the property. You have 3 days to gather your things and leave. 3 days. The words hit Anna like a punch to the stomach. 3 days to leave the only home she had ever known. 3 days to say goodbye to everything her husband had worked for. "Please, Mr. Blackwood, this ranch is all I have. Where will I go?" The banker shrugged. "That's not my concern. Business is business. 3 days, Mrs. Anna, not 1 hour more." As the 3 men rode away, Anna noticed someone else. A stranger sat on his horse at the edge of her property, near the old oak tree. He was watching everything. He wore simple clothes and a worn hat pulled low over his face. When Anna looked at him, he turned his horse and disappeared into the trees. That night, Anna couldn't sleep. She went through every paper her husband had left behind. She searched every drawer, every box, every corner of the house. There was no mention of any debt to Mr. Blackwood. But she also couldn't find anything that would prove the banker was lying. The next morning, Anna woke to the sound of hammering. She ran outside to find 2 of Blackwood's men tearing down part of her fence. They grinned at her when she shouted at them to stop. "Just getting the place ready for the new owner. Mr. Blackwood wants to run his cattle here soon." They rode off laughing, leaving a section of fence destroyed. Anna's horses were already wandering through the broken area. She spent hours trying to round them up alone. As she struggled with the last horse, she heard someone behind her. She turned to see the stranger from yesterday. Up close, she could see his face better. He was young, maybe 30 years old, with kind eyes and strong hands. "Let me help you with that." Without waiting for an answer, he calmly walked up to the nervous horse. He spoke to it softly, and within minutes the animal was following him back to the pasture. Then he looked at the broken fence. "I can fix this for you." Anna was suspicious. Nobody in town would help her. They were all too afraid of Mr. Blackwood. "Why would you help me? I can't pay you. I'm losing this ranch in 2 days. The stranger picked up a hammer and began working on the fence. "My name is Jonah. I don't need payment. I just don't like seeing people pushed around." Jonah worked all day fixing the fence. He was skilled with his hands and didn't waste a single movement. As the sun began to set, Anna brought him water and some bread. "Thank you, but I still don't understand why you're doing this." Jonah was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked out over the land. "I grew up here. This ranch was my home when I was a boy." Anna was shocked. "Your home? But my husband bought this land 15 years ago." Jonah nodded slowly. "From Mr. Blackwood. But Blackwood never really owned it. He stole it from my father." Anna sat down on a nearby rock. She needed to hear this story. Jonah began to speak. His voice was calm but filled with old pain. "My father settled this land 20 years ago. He built that house with his own hands. He dug the well, raised the barn, and made this place into a real ranch. Then Mr. Blackwood came to town and opened his bank. He seemed friendly at first. He offered to help my father with a loan to buy more cattle." Jonah paused to take a drink of water. "But the papers Blackwood had my father sign were not what he said they were. My father couldn't read very well. Blackwood tricked him into signing the ranch over to the bank. When my father found out, he went to the sheriff. But Blackwood had already paid off the law. There was nothing we could do. Anna felt sick. The same thing was happening to her now. Jonah continued his story. My father knew he was dying. His heart was broken from losing the land he loved. But before he died, he did something important. He wrote out a new deed. The true deed. He had the doctor and the minister witness it. And then, because he wanted to make sure it could never be questioned, he signed it with his own blood. He made me promise to come back one day and make things right. Anna's eyes grew wide. You have this deed? A deed signed in blood? Jonah reached into his saddlebag and pulled out an old leather folder. Inside was a piece of paper, darker and older than Anna's deed. At the bottom she could see the dark brown signature, made with blood. This deed is dated 5 years before Blackwood's fake claim. It describes every landmark on this property, things that aren't in any of Blackwood's papers because he never really walked this land. My father knew every rock, every tree, every stream. Anna felt hope for the first time in days, but she was also worried. Why didn't you come forward before? Why wait until now? I was young when my father died, just a boy. I had to leave town and grow up first. I had to become strong enough to face Blackwood. I came back when I heard about your husband's death. I've been watching, waiting for the right moment. When I saw what Blackwood was doing to you, I knew it was time. The final day came too quickly. The sun was high and hot in the sky when Mr. Blackwood arrived. This time he brought 5 men with him, along with Sheriff Hayes. They had a wagon to carry away Anna's belongings. Time's up, Mrs. Anna. Get your things and get out. Anna stood on her porch, trying to look brave, but her hands were shaking. This is my home. You have no right to take it. Blackwood laughed. I have every right. Sheriff, remove this woman from my property. The sheriff stepped forward, but he looked unhappy about it. Anna, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Just as the men started toward the house, Jonah appeared. He walked calmly from the barn, carrying the old leather folder. Stop right there, Sheriff. I have something you need to see. Blackwood's face turned red with anger. Who are you? Get off my land. This isn't your land, Blackwood. It never was. Jonah opened the folder and held up the old deed for everyone to see. This is the original deed to this property. It belonged to my father, Thomas Wade. You stole it from him through lies and fake papers. But he created this true deed before he died. Look at the date. Look at the signatures of the witnesses. And yes, that signature is in blood. My father's blood. He signed it that way to show how serious this promise was. Blackwood snatched the paper and looked at it. His face went from red to white. This is fake. This means nothing. Jonah smiled calmly. Then let me ask you something, Blackwood. In your deed, does it mention the old mine shaft on the north border? Does it talk about the 3 rocks that form a triangle near the eastern creek? Does it describe the lightning-struck tree that marks the southern boundary? Blackwood was silent. His deed mentioned none of these things. Sheriff Hayes took the blood-signed deed and examined it carefully. He knew the doctor who had signed as a witness. The man had been honest and respected. The minister's signature was there too. Jonah pointed to the land around them. All those landmarks are still here, Sheriff. You can go look at them yourself. My father knew every inch of this land because he lived it, worked it, and loved it. Blackwood's deed is general and vague because he never really owned it. He just took it through tricks. The sheriff looked at Mr. Blackwood. The banker was sweating now, his confidence gone. Is this true, Blackwood? Did you cheat this man's father? Blackwood's face twisted with rage. He pulled out a gun and pointed it at Jonah. I don't care what any paper says. This land is mine. I've owned it for 20 years. But Jonah moved faster than anyone expected. He knocked the gun from Blackwood's hand and pushed him to the ground. The banker's men stepped back, not wanting to get involved now that the truth was coming out. Sheriff Hayes picked up the gun and looked at Blackwood with disgust. Threatening people with guns? Stealing land through false papers? You're under arrest, Blackwood. I've looked the other way for too long, but not anymore. As the sheriff led Blackwood away in handcuffs, the banker shouted and cursed. But no one was listening anymore. His power was broken. The truth had finally won. The sheriff turned to Anna and Jonah. This land belongs to the Wade family. That means you, Jonah. Anna, I'm sorry for what you've been through, but legally, this ranch belongs to him. Anna's heart sank. She had been saved from Blackwood, but now she would still lose her home. Jonah looked at Anna. Then he looked at the land around them. Sheriff, my father's dream was for this land to be a home for good people, people who would work it and care for it. Anna and her husband did that. They made this ranch better than it ever was. I don't want to take that away. He turned to Anna. If you'll have me, I'd like to stay and help work this ranch. We can be partners. The land needs both of us. What do you say? Anna felt tears in her eyes. Not tears of sadness, but tears of relief and joy. I say yes. This land has room for both of us. As the sheriff and the others rode away, Anna and Jonah stood together on the porch. They looked out over the ranch, their ranch, as the sun began to set. The cattle grazed peacefully in the pasture. The horses ran in the field. The old barn stood strong against the evening sky. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. There would be work to do, fences to mend, and a future to build. But for now, they had won. The land was safe. Justice had been served. And neither of them would be alone anymore. The banker who had terrorized the town for so long was gone. His empire built on lies had crumbled in a single afternoon, all because of an old deed signed in blood and a son who kept his promise to his father. Anna held the blood-signed deed carefully. This paper had saved everything. A dying man's final act of love for his land had reached across the years to protect it. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Jonah spoke quietly. My father would be happy. The land is finally free. Anna nodded. And it will stay free. We'll make sure of that. They stood there as night fell over the valley, two people brought together by fate and bound by their love for the land. The ranch that had almost been stolen would now thrive under their care. The story of the blood-signed deed would be told in town for generations. It would remind everyone that truth and justice, though they might take time, would always win in the end. If you enjoyed this story of courage and justice in the Old West, please like and share it with others who love tales of the frontier. Subscribe to hear more stories of ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges and finding the strength to overcome them. Thank you for listening, and until next time, remember that sometimes the most powerful weapon against injustice is simply the truth.